Acre is a city in the northern coastal plain region of the Northern District, Israel at the northern extremity of Haifa Bay. The city occupies an important location, as it sits on the coast of the Mediterranean Sea, traditionally linking the waterways and commercial activity with the Levant. The important land routes meeting here are the north-south one following the coast and the road cutting inland through the Plain of Esdraelon. Acre also benefits of one of the very rare natural harbours on the coast of the Land of Israel. This location helped it become one of the oldest cities in the world, continuously inhabited since the Middle Bronze Age some 4,000 years ago. Acre is the holiest city of the Baha'i faith, and as such gets many Baha'i pilgrims. In 2014 the population was 47,464. Acre is a mixed city that includes Jews, Muslims, Christians and Baha'is. The mayor is Shimon Lankri, who was re-elected in 2011. Etymology. Acre's etymology is a matter of controversy, though most likely deriving from the early Canaanite language. According to biblical tradition, the name is derived from Canaanite Acre, meaning a border and referring to northmost border of the Israelite tribes. The city was known as Ptolemy during the Hellenistic and Roman Byzantine periods. During the Crusades it was known as St. John d'Acre after the Knights Hospitaller, who had the headquarters there. History. Antiquity. The remains of the oldest settlement at the site of modern Acre were found at the Tel known as Tel Acre in Hebrew and Tel el-Acre in Arabic, and date to the early Bronze Age. However, this farming community endured only for a couple of centuries, after which the site was abandoned, possibly after being inundated by the rising sea waters, only to be resettled as an urban center during the Middle Bronze Age. Acre was inhabited from then on continuously, although being subject to conquest and destruction several times, most recently in 1291 when the Mamluks razed the city once they took it from the Crusaders. In the 14th and into the 15th centuries it was not more than a large village. Acre is therefore counted among the oldest continuously inhabited sites in the region. Egyptian sources seem to be mentioning Acre, starting possibly with execration texts from California. 1800 BCE. The name Aak, which appears on the tribute lists of Thutmose III, may be a reference to Acre. The Amarna letters also mention a place named Acre, as well as the execration texts that predate them. First settlement at the site of ancient Acre appears to have been in the early Bronze Age, or about 3000 BC. In the Hebrew Bible, Acre is one of the places from which the Israelites did not drive out the Canaanites. It is later described in the territory of the tribe of Asher and, according to Josephus, was ruled by one of Solomon's provincial governors. Throughout Israelite rule, it was politically and culturally affiliated with Phoenicia. Around 725 BC, Acre joined Sidon and Tyre in a revolt against Shalmanes of the Greek, Judean and Roman periods. Greek historians refer to the city as Acre, meaning cure. Quote, according to the Greek myth, Heracles found curative herbs here to heal his wounds. Josephus calls it Acre. The name was changed to Antiochia Ptolemy shortly after Alexander the Great's conquest, and then to Ptolemy, probably by Ptolemy Soter, after the Wars of the Diadochi lead to the partition of the kingdom of Alexander the Great. Strabo refers to the city as once a rendezvous for the Persians in their expeditions against Egypt. About 165 BC, Judas Maccabeus defeated the Seleucids in several battles in Galilee, and drove them into Ptolemy. About 153 BC, Alexander Belus, son of Antiochus IV Epiphanes, contesting the Seleucid crown with Demetrius, seized the city, which opened its gates to him. Demetrius offered many bribes to the Maccabees to obtain Jewish support against his rival, including the revenues of Ptolemy for the benefit of the temple in Jerusalem, but in vain. Jonathan Apphus threw in his lot with Alexander, and in 150 BC he was received by him with great honor in Ptolemy. Some years later, however, Tryphon, an officer of the Seleucid Empire, who had grown suspicious of the Maccabees, enticed Jonathan into Ptolemy and treacherously took him prisoner. The city was captured by Alexander, Jannaeus, Cleopatra, and Tigranes the Great. Here Herod the Great built a gymnasium. The Christian Acts of the Apostles reports that Luke the Evangelist, Paul the Apostle and the companions spent a day in Ptolemy with the Christian brethren there. A Roman colonia was established at the city, Colonia Claudius Ares. The Romans enlarged the port and the city, that flourished for 6 centuries even as a Christian center. After the permanent division of the Roman Empire in 395, Ptolemy Acre was administered by the successor state, the Byzantine Empire. In 636, the city was conquered by the Arabs during the early Muslim conquests. Early Islamic era. Following the defeat of the Byzantine army of Heraclius by the Rashidun army of Khalid ibn al-Walid in the Battle of Yarmouk, and the capitulation of the Christian city of Jerusalem to the Caliph Umar, Acre came under the rule of the Rashidun Caliphate beginning in 638. According to the early Muslim chronicler al-Baladuri, the actual conquest of Acre was led by Shirahbil ibn Hassana, and it likely surrendered without resistance. The Arab conquest brought a revival to the town of Acre, and it served as the main port of Palestine through the Umayyad and Abbasid caliphates that followed, and through Crusader rule into the 13th century. The first Umayyad caliph, Muawiyah I, regarded the coastal towns of the Levant as strategically important. Thus, he strengthened Acre's fortifications and settled Persians from other parts of Muslim Syria to inhabit the city. From Acre, which became one of the region's most important dockyards along with Tyre, Muawiyah launched an attack against Byzantine-held Cyprus. The Byzantines assaulted the coastal cities in 669, prompting Muawiyah to assemble and send shipbuilders and carpenters to Acre. The city would continue to serve as the principal naval base of Jund al-Urdun until the reign of Caliph Hisham ibn Abd al-Malik, who moved the bulk of the shipyards north to Tyre. Nonetheless, Acre remained militarily significant through the early Abbasid period, with Caliph al-Mutawakkil issuing an order to make Acre into a major naval base in 861, equipping the city with battleships and combat troops. During the 10th century, Acre was still part of Jund al-Urdun. Local Arab geographer al-Muqaddasi visited Acre during the early Fatimid Caliphate in 985, describing it as a fortified coastal city with a large mosque possessing a substantial olive grove. Fortifications had been previously built by the autonomous Emir Ibn Tulun of Egypt, who annexed the city in the 870s, and provided relative safety for merchant ships arriving at the city's port. When Persian traveler Nazir Khusraw visited Acre in 1047, he noted that the large Jama Masjid was built of marble. Located in the center of the city and just south of it lay the tomb of the Prophet Salih. Khusraw provided a description of the city's size, which roughly translated as having a length of 1.24 kilometers and a width of 300 meters. This figure indicates that Acre at the time was larger than its current Old City area, most of which was built between the 18th and 19th centuries. Crusader and Mamluk period. First Crusader Kingdom of Jerusalem. After roughly 4 years of siege, Acre finally capitulated to the forces of King Baldwin I of Jerusalem in 1104 during the First Crusade. The Crusaders made the town the chief port in Palestine. On the First Crusade, Fulcher relates his travels with the crusading armies of King Baldwin. including initially staying over in Acre before the armies advanced to Jerusalem. This demonstrates that even from the beginning, Acre was an important link between the Crusaders and their advance into the Levant. Its function was to provide Crusaders with a foothold in the region and access to vibrant trade that made them prosperous, especially giving them access to the Asiatic spice trade. By the 1130s it had a population of around 25,000 and was only matched for size in the Crusader kingdom by the city of Jerusalem. Around 1170 it became the main port of the eastern Mediterranean, and the kingdom of Jerusalem was regarded in the West as enormously wealthy, above all because of Acre. According to an English contemporary, it provided more for the Crusader crown than the total revenues of the King of England. The Andalusian geographer Ibn Jubayr read that in 1185 there was still a Muslim community in the city who worshipped in a small mosque. Ayyubid intermezzo. Acre, along with Beirut and Sidon, capitulated without a fight to the Ayyubid Sultan Saladin in 1187, after his decisive victory at Hattin and the subsequent Muslim capture of Jerusalem. Second Crusader Kingdom of Jerusalem. Acre remained in Muslim hands until it was unexpectedly besieged by King Guy of Lusignan, reinforced by Pisan naval and ground forces, in August 1189. The siege was unique in the history of the Crusades since the Frankish besiegers were themselves besieged by Saladin's troops. It was not captured until July 1191 when the forces of the Third Crusade, led by King Richard I of England and King Philip II of France, came to King Guy's aid. Acre then served as the de facto capital of the remnant Kingdom of Jerusalem in 1192. During the siege, German merchants from Lübeck and Bremen had founded a field hospital, which became the nucleus of the chivalric Teutonic Order. Upon the Sixth Crusade, the city was placed under the administration of the Knights Hospitaller military order. Acre continued to prosper as major commercial hub of the eastern Mediterranean, but also underwent turbulent times due to the bitter infighting among the Crusader factions that occasionally resulted in civil wars. The old part of the city, where the port and fortified city were located, protrudes from the coastline, exposing both sides of the narrow piece of land to the sea. This could maximize its efficiency as a port, and the narrow entrance to this protrusion served as a natural and easy defense to the city. Both the archaeological record and Crusader texts emphasize Acre's strategic importance, a city in which it was crucial to pass through, controlled and, as evidenced by the massive walls, protect. Mamluk period. Acre was the final stronghold of the Crusader states when much of the Levantine coastline was conquered by Mamluk forces. The city, having been isolated and largely abandoned by Europe, capitulated to the Mamluks led by Sultan al-Ashra of Kalal in a bloody siege in 1291. In line with Mamluk policy regarding the coastal cities, Acre was entirely destroyed with the exception of a few religious edifices considered sacred by the Muslims, namely the Nabi Saleh tomb and the Ain Barka spring. The destruction of the city led to popular Arabic sayings in the region enshrining its past glory. In 1321 the Syrian geographer Abu al-Fida wrote that Acre was a beautiful city, but still in ruins following its capture by the Mamluks. Nonetheless, the spacious port was still in use and the city was full of artisans. Throughout the Mamluk era, Acre was succeeded by Safed as the principal city of its province. Ottoman era incorporated into the Ottoman Empire in 1517. It appeared in the census of 1596, located in the Nahiyah of Acca of the Liwa of Safad. The population was 81 households and 15 bachelors, all Muslim. They paid a fixed tax rate of 25% on agricultural products, including wheat, barley, cotton, goats and beehives, water buffaloes, in addition to occasional revenues and market toll, a total of 20,500 AKCE. Half of the revenue went to a WAQF. English academic Henry Maundrell in 1697 found it a ruin, save for a khan built and occupied by French merchants for their use, a mosque and a few poor cottages. The khan was named Khan al-French after its French founders. During Ottoman rule, Acre continued to play an important role in the region via smaller autonomous sheikdoms. Towards the end of the 18th century, Acre revived under the rule of Zahir al-Umar, the Arab ruler of the Galilee, who made the city capital of his autonomous sheikdom. Zahir rebuilt Acre's fortifications, using materials from the city's medieval ruins. He died outside its walls during an offensive against him by the Ottoman state in 1775. His successor, Jazir Pasha, further fortified its walls when he virtually moved the capital of the Sadrailate to Acre, where he resided. Jazir's improvements were accomplished through heavy imposts secured for himself, all the benefits derived from his improvements. About 1780, Jazir peremptorily banished the French trading colony, in spite of protests from the French government, and refused to receive the consul. Both Zahir and Jazir undertook ambitious architectural projects in the city, building several caravanserais, mosques, public baths and other structures. Some of the notable works included the Al-Jazir Mosque, which was built out of stones from the ancient ruins of Caesarea and Atlat, and the Khan al-Amdan, both built on Jazir's orders. In 1799, Napoleon, in pursuance of his scheme for raising a Syrian rebellion against Turkish domination, appeared before Acre, but after a siege of 2 months was repulsed by the Turks, aided by Sir Sidney Smith and a force of British sailors. Having lost his siege cannons to Smith, Napoleon attempted to lay siege to the walled city defended by Ottoman troops on the 20th of March 1799, using only his infantry and small-caliber cannons, a strategy which failed, leading to his retreat 2 months later on the 21st of May. Jazir was succeeded on his death by his Mamluk, Sulayman Pasha al-Adil, under whose milder rule the town advanced in prosperity till his death in 1819. After his death, Haim Fahi, who was his advisor, paid a huge sum in bribes to assure that Abdullah Pasha, whom he had known from youth, will be appointed as ruler. Abdullah Pasha ruled Acre until 1831, when Ibrahim Pasha besieged and reduced the town and destroyed its buildings. During the Oriental Crisis of 1840, it was bombarded on the 4th of November 1840 by the Allied British, Austrian and French squadrons, and in the following year restored to Turkish rule. It regained some of its former prosperity after linking with Hejaz Railway by a branch line from Haifa in 1913. It was the Acre Sanjak in the Beirut Vilayet until British occupation on 23 September 1918 during World War I. Mandatory Palestine. At the beginning of the Mandate period, in the 1922 census of Palestine, Acre had 6,420 residents, 4,883 of whom were Muslim, 1,344 Christian, 102 Baha'i, 78 Jewish and 13 Druze. The British Mandate government reconstructed Acre and its economic situation improved. The 1931 census counted 7,897 people in Acre, 6,076 Muslims, 1,523 Christians, 237 Jews, 51 Baha'i and 10 Druze. In 1940, 1945 Acre's population numbered 12,360, 9,890 Muslims, 50 Jews, 2,330 Christians, and 90 classified as other. Acre's fort was converted into a jail, where members of the Jewish underground were held during the struggle against the British, among them Zeev Jabotinsky, Shlomo ben Yosef, and Dov Gruner. Gruner and Ben Yosef were executed there. Other Jewish inmates were freed by members of the Irgun, who broke into the jail on 4 May 1947 and succeeded in releasing Jewish underground movement activists. Over 200 Arab inmates also escaped. In the 1947 United Nations partition plan for Palestine, Acre was designated part of a future Arab state. During the 1948 war, Acre was besieged by Israeli forces. A typhoid fever outbreak occurred in Acre at this time. According to the Red Cross archives, an emergency meeting held at the Lebanese Red Cross hospital in Acre concluded that the infection was waterborne, not due to crowded or unhygienic conditions. Brigadier Beveridge, Chief of the British Medical Services, Colonel Bonnet of the British Army, and delegates of Red Cross were present in this meeting. Beveridge proclaimed at the time that nothing like that ever happened in Palestine. According to anti-Zionist historian Ilan Pappé, even the guarded language of Red Cross reports points to outside poisoning as the sole explanation of the outbreak. State of Israel Acre was captured by Israel on 17 May 1948, displacing about three-quarters of the Arab population of the city. Throughout the 1950s, many Jewish neighborhoods were established at the northern and eastern parts of the city, as it became a development town, designated to absorb numerous Jewish immigrants, largely Jews from Morocco. The old city of Acre remained largely Arab Muslim, with Arab Christian neighborhood in close proximity. The city also attracted Baha'i worshippers, some of whom became permanent residents in the city, where the Baha'i mansion of Baji is located. Acre has also served as a base for important events in Baha'i history, including being the birthplace of Shoghi Effendi, and the short-lived schism between Baha'is initiated by the attacks by Mirza Muhammad Ali against Abdul Baha. Baha'is have since commemorated various events that have occurred in the city, including the imprisonment of Baha'u'llah. In the 1990s, the city absorbed thousands of Jews who immigrated from the Soviet Union and later from Russia and Ukraine. Within several years, however, the population balance between Jews and Arabs shifted backwards, as northern neighborhoods were abandoned by many of its Jewish residents in favor of new housing projects in nearby Natharia, while many Muslim Arabs moved in. Nevertheless, the city still has a clear Jewish majority. In 2011, the population of 46,000 included 30,000 Jews and 14,000 Arabs. Ethnic tensions erupted in the city on 8 October 2008 after an Arab citizen drove through predominantly Jewish neighborhood during Yom Kippur, leading to 5 days of violence between Arabs and Jews. In 2009, the population of Acre reached 46,300. The current mayor Shimon Lankri was re-elected in 2011. Demography. According to the Israeli Central Bureau of Statistics, there are 46,300 citizens in Acre. Acre's population is mixed with Jews and Arabs. Most Arabs are Muslims and Christians, with small minorities of Druze and Baha'i. Jews are 67.1% of the city's population. Muslim Arabs are 25.3% of the city's population. Christian Arabs are 2.4% of the city's population, and other citizens make up 5.2% of the city's population. According to the Israeli Central Office of Statistics, 95% 85% of the residents in the Old City are Arab. Only about 15% of the current Arab population in the city descends from families who lived there before 1948. In 1999, there were 22 schools in Acre with an enrollment of 15,000 children. Transportation. The Acre Central Bus Station, served by Egdon Native Express, offers intra-city and intercity bus routes to destinations all over Israel. Native Express is currently contracted to provide the intra-city bus routes within Acre. The city is also served by the Acre railway station, which is on the main coastal railway line to Natharia, with southerly trains to Beersheba and Modi and Maccabi Ma'ut. Acre is intended to be the terminus for a future branch line to Carmel, which is currently under construction. Education and culture. The Sir Charles Claw Jewish Arab Community Center in the Kiryat Wolfson neighborhood runs youth clubs and programs for Jewish and Arab children. In 1990, Mohammed Fayeli, an Arab resident of Acre, founded the Acre Jewish Arab Association, which originally operated out of 2 bomb shelters. In 1993, Dame Vivian Duffield of the Claw Foundation donated funds for a new building. Among the programs offered is Peace Child Israel, which employs theater and the arts to teach coexistence. The participants, Jews and Arabs, spend 2 months studying conflict resolution and then work together to produce an original theatrical performance that addresses the issues they have explored. Another program is Patriots of Acre, a community responsibility and youth tourism program that teaches children to become ambassadors for the city. In the summer, the center runs an Arab-Jewish summer camp for 120 disadvantaged children aged 5 to 11. Some 1,000 children take part in the Acre Center's youth club and youth programming every week. Adult education programs have been developed for Arab women interested in completing the high school education and acquiring computer skills to prepare for joining the workforce. The center also offers parenting courses and music and dance classes. The Acre Festival of Alternative Israeli Theatre is an annual event that takes place in October, coinciding with the holiday of Sukkot. The festival, inaugurated in 1979, provides a forum for non-conventional theatre, attracting local and overseas theatre companies. Theatre performances by Jewish and Arab producers are staged at indoor and outdoor venues around the city. Sports. The city's football team, Hapoel Acre FC, is a member of the Israeli Premier League, the top tier of Israeli football. They play in the Acre Municipal Stadium, which was opened in September 2011. At the end of the 2008-09 season, the club finished in the top 5 and was promoted to the top tier for a second time, after an absence of 31 years. In the past, the city was also home to Maccabi Acre. However, the club was relocated to nearby Kiryat and was renamed Maccabi Ayani Kiryat. Other current active clubs are Ahi Acre and the newly formed Maccabi Ayani Acre, both playing in Liga Bet. Both clubs also host the matches in the Acre Municipal Stadium.